Alright friends, you clicked on this video, you know what's going on, I know what's going on, so let's get into this. The amazing cat tier list, all of them, tier 1, every cat is a good cat, house cat,
Good.
wild cat,
Good.
tiger,
Good.
Okay, now that most pressing topic is out of the way, let's talk about the Super PHY units. So, if you don't know what this is, it is part of my project to tier every type by the end of 2020. We've covered tech and now int so far, so go check out the playlist in the description to get the scoop there. And I'll be keeping this updated in the pinned comment as we get more Super PHY units in 2021. And once these videos are all done, the pinned comment will have an imager link to the current tier list in image form, so that'll be easy to keep updated. Now anyway, we're covering every LR, Dokkan Fest exclusive, and any units that got released or got some sort of awakening in 2021. Let's do it. So, tier 1 are units that are really good. They're either incredibly versatile or some of the best at what they do. They have almost no weaknesses, or the weaknesses they have are super minor. These are the closest to 10 out of 10 most well-rounded units. And as always, the units in a tier are not in any particular order. I just like the way they look when I pair them like this. So, LR Super Saiyan 2 Angel Vegeta is fantastic. He hits the big numbers, he defends pretty darn well, and his Goku requirement in his passive is really easy to meet for his unit super attack. LR Gogeta is quite a consistent unit. His weakness is just that his transformation takes a long time, but even in base form he's really solid. Easy to hit his 18 key, and he does work. The LR Blue Boys have a great kit, do good damage, and also hit their 18 key pretty easily. Easy A Vegito Blue counters and super attacks multiple times in a turn. He doesn't like taking super attacks before he can super, but that is a very minor issue when he's going to be taking a ton of normal attacks with reduced damage and hitting back over and over and over again. I was a little unsure about whether to put Tien in tier 1 or 2. I ended up putting him here because he has a good kit for Super Battle Road with his stuns and debuffing, and he has some really great offense. However, as I mentioned in my top 10 video, his support does have one pretty big weakness in that it doesn't offer ki when he doesn't link well with most units, and it only works for super class Majin Buu Saga allies. Now Android 17 is a good and versatile defensive and key support. He fits on a lot of teams, and while he doesn't have as much defense as I'd like him to have when you have full HP, he is absolutely fine when you fall under 77%. Beerus gets really good with a support, but even without it, he's still pretty good. He just needs to be hit once before he tanks really well and does tons of damage, since his boosts are calculated separately. And Easy A LR Gohan does need to be under 58% HP before he gets crazy good offense, but the 58% damage reduction he gets from being paired with a Goku unit is very easy to achieve. In a meta where defense does matter more, this Gohan ends up doing really well. Now tier 2 are units that are still really good, but they have one or two big weaknesses. Those weaknesses don't limit their use, but they do end up keeping them from being good enough for tier 1. Alright, so Super Saiyan Blue Goku is a pretty good unit. He has attack and defense stacking, and he makes his own orbs, which does sometimes help with his nuker issue. But because he's a nuker, his stats are entirely dependent on how many orbs he's able to get. He's still pretty decent, but he is not tier 1. Dokkan Fest Piccolo is a fantastic defensive unit. His ability to see when you're going to be super attacked, along with his defense stacking, his stunning, his healing, they're all fantastic parts of his kit. The issue is that he needs to be paired with a Namekian, and the really only good option right now is AGL Nail. Once we get better Namekians, this issue should clear up. LR Krillin has a flat boost, but even with that, he's still pretty good. He stacks, and his AoE 12 key has a chance to stun all enemies. He gets extra ki when facing only one enemy, so it's really easy to get his 18 ki for the attack and defense stacking. However, as an Earthling, he doesn't really have the best links. Support Gohan is a pretty flawed support, but he's good in some aspects. He gives 50% support to all Super Fizz types, and he changes orbs. He stacks attack, but he doesn't stack defense, which is more important. He stuns, but he only has a 30% chance. And finally, he's a nuker, which can get him some high attack numbers when he gets a lot of orbs in very specific situations, but it makes him very dependent on that. So tier 3 consists of units that are still good but have their usage held back by one or two major weaknesses. Launch is incredible for Super Battle Road. While she doesn't have the best attack and defense, she supers anywhere from 1 to 4 times and greatly lowers attack and defense each time. And on each super she has a 50% chance to crit, plus she'll seal if she's paired with any other Peppy Gal's unit, which she should be on the rotation. She certainly has her flaws, but I think that the sheer value she provides for Super Battle Road makes her quite good. Even outside of Super Battle Road, her quadruple supers can still be pretty good, even when she isn't able to debuff the enemy. However, her turn restriction and her reliance on debuffs does make her pretty bad for long form content. This Chi-Chi is fantastic when she's in the right situations. She debuffs her attacked enemy, she has a chance to stun, although it is small, and she'll either have pretty good stats or a 50% chance to dodge. If she's with or against a Goku unit, she also gets attacks effective against all types, and if I'm being honest, that's just hilarious. But yeah, limited to pairing with Dragon Ball Saga units because of her links, but she does work decently well with launch on Peppy Gals, but she is not good in long form content. Easy A Kale is very good, but will absolutely fall off after 6 turns. She doesn't have any defense, but she gets a 60% damage reduction for the first 6 turns, which allows her to tank decently well. However, after 6 turns, she has to get 6 or more physical orbs to get that same damage reduction, which means you need to pair her with physical Kefla to be decent defensively. However, on the offensive side, she launches an additional attack that has a 70% chance to be a super, which means she'll be doing pretty good damage. She's not so held back by the turn restriction that she's only usable in Super Battle Road, but the turn restriction is definitely a problem. LR Trunks is pretty strong, at least offensively, but he starts off with no defense and relies entirely on getting defense from his super attack, which will only stack for 3 turns. He gets an innate 50% crit chance, but this guy is quite the glass cannon, and in a meta where defense matters, that's a bit limiting. LR Great Saiyaman 1 and 2 will usually not link very well on most teams that they're on. However, they are a decent key battery and defensive support for superclass units. Unlike Android 17, who also fills that role, Great Saiyaman 1 and 2 have pretty weak attack and not nearly as many good categories. So here's the thing. Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta is great if he's on a Dragon Ball Heroes team. However, he's still okay without it. No matter what, he disables enemies' guard, so he'll be able to hit any type for neutral damage, outside of Int, which he would be super effective against. However, when he's on a full Dragon Ball Heroes team, he gets 35% crits and an extra 35% attack and defense. So he's still okay without being on the Dragon Ball Heroes team, which does keep him out of tier 4, but he's not quite good enough to be tier 2. He's still a bit held back by that restriction. LR Bardock has some really great offensive potential, but he ironically suffers a bit from being Bardock, since AGL Bardock is the designated leader for low-class warrior teams. While you could run him on the double int LR Team Bardock lead, you're then stuck with using a mostly free-to-play team. You could do an LR Bardock and LR Team Bardock rotation on pure Saiyans, which would be strong, but it's not without issues like LR Bardock's iffy defense. He's a great unit, but he does suffer from his limitations. Tier 4 has the niche units. While these units might be really good at their niche, they don't do very much outside of that. After Super Saiyan 2 Goku's Easy A, he's a pretty good Super Saiyan 2 support. He's not very strong offensively, but he takes hits pretty well and he helps his team. The only issue is that the Super Saiyan 2 team is still a bit niche. However, he functions very well as a support for LR Super Saiyan 2 Angel Vegeta, since this Goku is from the Majin Buu saga. So the thing about this Gotenks is that he seals, which should make him decent for Super Battle Road. Unfortunately, he needs to build up his defense with each super attack, which makes him vulnerable in short form content. He stays in tier 4 mostly because he fulfills something the Fusion team does need, a sealer, and he has decent offense. And as the Fusion team gets more and more options, I do think that this Gotenks will be used less. This Super Saiyan Goku has a 70% chance to stun on his super attack and either a 50 or 70% chance to crit depending on your HP. That means he's an okay option for Super Battle Road. He's not the best option because of his defense, but he does find some use here. However, against opponents he can't stun, he's only gonna be okay. They certainly learned from transforming Frieza and Goku, and this Vegeta doesn't lose any stats as he transforms. However, once he hits Super Saiyan Blue, he loses defense stacking, which is what you would want in any mode that you actually reach Super Saiyan Blue. He's still decently strong, but he's not really preferable for any endgame content. However, he does have a good leader skill and a wide variety of categories, so he has a nice niche as a pseudo leader for a lot of teams if you don't have the correct leader. And I'm gonna butcher this name, but Kahersal is a great stacker and a support unit who also happens to be free to play. The reason why he ends up in tier 4 is that the Universe 11 team, the category he's meant to be played with, is extremely small. You literally only have 6 units as of recording this video, so it's very niche. Alright, so I debated on whether or not to throw Shugesh in the meme tier, but he does actually have some viability. He stacks defense so he can be a budget pure Saiyan for the Legendary Goku event or Infinite Dragon Ball history. However, he has a guaranteed stun if the enemy is sealed, which works very well with either the free-to-play Bardock or LR Bardock. However, he can also work as a guaranteed stun with any other pure Saiyan sealer. Not extremely well, but he is doable for Super Battle Road. Easy A Piccolo gives 77% defense to all of his allies on the rotation. He's a pretty fantastic defensive support that most everyone has a copy of. However, he relies on Master-Student Bond allies for his attack, but even then, his attack isn't great. He's niche because you'll use him as a defensive support, but there's no other reason to use this over his Dokkan Fest counterpart. Nova Shenron is fantastic as a floating support on a Super Class Shadow Dragon Saga team when facing Extreme Class Shadow Dragon Saga enemies, but that is the smallest of niches I've ever seen. He's got some key links and Fierce Battle to link with the rest of his team, but all of his other links will not work with Superclass allies on the Shadow Dragon Saga team, which is where you're going to be running him because his support only works for Superclass units in this ridiculously small category. Now he does have a 50% chance to crit any extreme enemy, and he does have sealing, which can be helpful, but let's be honest, you have better options than this. Tier 5 are units that are honestly kind of bad. They're usable if you don't have any other options, but they're not preferable. Free-to-play Oob has a decent kit for the Legendary Goku event, and he's okay in Infinite Dragon Ball history, but he's unfortunately not great outside of that. He has horrible links, he only gets his Guard Against All passive when facing Goku or World Tournament enemies, and he takes a while to get decent defense. This kid is gonna get demolished in Super Battle Road, and he won't help teams much in any other content. This Trunks is honestly kind of bad in my opinion, but he essentially works as a budget LR Trunks. He's a glass cannon with no defense since the boosts cancel each other out, but then he gets extra crit chance for every hit he takes, which is absolutely not something you want him to be doing. He has decent offense, which is what keeps him out of tier 6, but being hit to get crit when you have no defense is just awful. Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks starts off with a debuff to his defense. Worse than no boost, it's a negative buff. However, after 7 turns it does go away, so he is still a bit weak defensively, but he's not as bad. He loses his extra offense and just ends up being middling in long form content. He also kinda has the same issue as Tech Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks where you want to get him the 11 key, but it's a little tough to do. He's kind of bad right now, but maybe after his Easy A he'll be better. Kid Chi-Chi has great offense unless she gets hit. She loses 50% of her attack for every hit she takes, and she needs to be next to a Kid Goku unit to have any defense at all. But to be fair, you would be running her under Int Kid Goku's lead, so you should have one on the rotation with her. She does have a 50% chance to stun, but it's not really enough to make up for her massive flaw. Super Vegito has no defense and has to get hit 10 times before he even has 100% attack. Sure, he gets damage reduction versus normal attacks, but with no defense, a lack of good offense, and the fact that super attacks exist, he's just become too outdated. Thankfully, we have a new Majin Buu Saga leader now. He's usable if you don't have options, but he's absolutely not preferable. Future Gohan needs 10 turns, assuming he's on a main rotation, before he gets decent damage reduction. He'll get more defense as you lose HP, which could come in clutch if you got the damage reduction built up, but that's hardly reliable. On the offensive side, he's just okay. He's gonna be alright for long form content, although not great, and just straight bad in Super Battle Road. This free-to-play Angel Goku has a turn limit to his attack boost, then after he loses his attack he gets a 50% chance to dodge, which would be disabled in the Legendary Goku event, although not in all Infinite Dragon Ball history stages. He does support his team, but it's only okay support and it's not really enough to justify using him. And tier 6 are the trash tier units. They are very smelly, not good at all. Jackie Chun is a Kamehameha support that only gives 2 ki and 20% attack and defense. However, his stats are pretty bad and he needs to be supering to even get any attack and defense boost. He has awful links and the Kamehameha team has so many better options that he's just not worth it. LR Yamcha is awful. He has iffy links, not good offense, and he stuns himself when facing a Peppy Gal's unit. He doesn't have anything in his kit to justify the cons of using him, so it's time to call the trash man and throw him out. Although don't actually do that because he is a collectible unit. Free-to-play Future Gohan technically got his awakening on Global this year and it's just so bad. Even when he's facing 2 enemies and their androids, he's just not good. And unfortunately we don't have any meme tier units this year for Super Fizz, but we'll see how that changes throughout 2021. And that's gonna wrap things up for me here. I'm sorry this one came out a little bit late. I ended up having to take my cats to the vet on the day that I usually have to work on these videos, and I fell a little bit behind. Hopefully we should be on track for the top 10 extreme physical units on Wednesday, but I know that we'll definitely be on track by Sunday for the extreme physical tier list. Thanks a ton for your patience, and I hope you all have a good day, a good week, a good life, and happy summons. Goodbye.